Gonna need some coffee for this one, guys. Why don't we go ahead and get on with it? Let's talk a little bit about troubleshooting. What's going on, everyone? I'm John from Hobbyist PCs. Welcome. Today, I've got 5 basic troubleshooting tips to give you guys. At some point, as a PC user, you're going to be left with the task of having to fix it. Saying that problems are a common occurrence on the PC platform would be a bit disingenuous. However, the highly varied nature of the PC hardware landscape certainly leaves a lot of room for mishaps to occur. In most cases, it's not a matter of if, it's usually a matter of when. As a PC user, it's incredibly beneficial and at the same time, pretty much necessary to have to learn how to do some basic troubleshooting to navigate through your issues. In this video, I'll be giving you 5 basic tips on how to troubleshoot these annoying little issues that you are eventually going to end up running into on the PC platform. So let's go ahead and get into it. Tip number 1. Try to recreate the problem. If the problem you're experiencing tends to come in the form of a crash or happens at regular intervals, one of the best things you could do is to try to recreate the problem to try to help narrow down the issue. For example, you're playing a specific game that tends to really push the graphics card and seems to crash straight to the desktop after a certain amount of time. As a matter of fact, I'm experiencing the same issue myself right now with Battlefield 5. That's besides the point. Switching to another equally taxing game, if you happen to have one at your disposal, and seeing if it happens to crash at around the same time can help rule out whether or not it's a game-specific problem and possibly narrow down the issue to being a driver or a hardware-related issue. Of course, I do have to stress that this isn't always going to be the case, but doing this can always help you narrow down the issue a lot better and help make it so that, for example, it's a lot easier to explain the issue to others that might be able to help you out. This also happens to lead us up to tip number 2. Consult other users about the issue. It's very possible that other users are experiencing the same issue that you are, and it's also very possible that a user has found a solution to fix this issue. One of my favorite places to consult for finding this sort of help are forums, especially ones that you might find on PC enthusiast websites, or perhaps you might find Reddit threads for particular games if it's a game-specific issue. Sometimes consulting those threads can help a lot for narrowing down your issue, and then maybe seeing if any of those solutions might help fix the issue. While forums aren't necessarily the perfect place to get the solution to your problems, of course, trolls exist, and some people might find different solutions to the same problem that might not necessarily work in your case. A lot of the times, you're likely to find someone that's more than willing to help you out with your issue, and you never know, you might end up making a new friend out of it. As long as you're precise about the issue that you're having, also be sure to include your system specs down below, whatever description it is that you have about your problem, your chances of finding someone to help you find a solution to your problem are much greater. And this is further increased if you're willing to work with that person. So if you're going to be unruly or be unwilling to share information that they might need, you're probably going to have a much harder time finding someone willing to help you with your issue. While we're on the topic of giving precise information, this leads us up to tip number 3. Error codes. This advice kind of pertains to Windows, but trust me, most of you guys, especially if you're gamers, are going to find this information pretty helpful. If the problem you're experiencing comes in the form of a crash, or a blue screen of death, or maybe just nothing at all, like I said earlier, a straight to desktop crash, your system is either going to display an error code on screen, or it's going to end up posting it within the system's event viewer or reliability monitor. And in some cases, it might even give you some more details pertaining to the crash and why it happened. Fortunately, it's really easy to access these diagnostic tools. If you want to find the event viewer, simply hit the Windows key and type in event viewer, and you will go straight to the event viewer. And there you can locate the issue that you might have been experiencing, and you can get more details on the error that you experienced on the system. As for the reliability monitor, all you gotta do is hit the Windows key, start typing reliability, and you'll see view reliability history pop up under the control panel. In which case you just click that, and then you will get a timeline or a graphic representation of the errors that you've seen in sequence. This is why reliability monitors become one of my favorite, because it shows you things in terms of how recently they happened. Whereas the event viewer, it's more precise in terms of showing you every single bit of history that happens on the system, but it can be a little overwhelming for people that don't want to sift through it all. Now, these error codes can tell you a lot about the issue that you're having with your system. If you're lucky to have gotten an error code with the crash that pops up on the screen, then you can simply just write down the error code, or you can take a picture with your phone or camera, whatever you have lying around. That way you can have a snapshot of it. That is if you don't want to go into the event viewer or the reliability monitor to check that out. Then you can take that error code and then you can go ahead and use that error code to help narrow down your issue. But if you're unfortunate to have not gotten an error code, of course, like I said earlier, go ahead and reference the event viewer and the reliability monitor. More than likely, an error code will be listed in there. Sometimes that does happen. Once you have all the information that you need to share, you can go ahead and take that information and you can do what I'm going to suggest that everybody does in tip number 4. Google it. You would not believe how many people I run into that don't even attempt to Google the issue that they're having. I see so many people that are just in distress over the issues they're having, but make almost no effort to try to solve the issue whatsoever. And to some degree, I get that. Computers can be pretty intimidating to deal with. You're afraid that maybe you might do more damage to the system if you just attempt to fix it yourself. But there is a reality to this. Believe it or not, most, if not all, IT technicians pretty much utilize Google to solve about 80 to 90% of the problems that they're tasked with having to fix. Show me an IT technician that knows so much about computers that they don't need to reference something to figure out an issue. That guy shouldn't be working in IT. He should be doing something way more fulfilling with his career than working in IT. However, respect to those people out there that do know that much. You the real MVP. Seriously, guys, when it comes to Googling any sort of issue, this should be the first thing that you do when you experience an issue. There is one more thing that I will suggest in just a moment, but let's stay on track here. A lot of this boils down not just to the fact that Google is one of the most robust and connected search engines on the planet, but because the PC community has decades of documented experience with these problems and internet access on top of it. There's a very high likelihood that you're going to find someone who's experienced the same issue as you, and you're very likely to find a solution to your problem. You got websites, forums, Reddit threads, free books. Like, there's stuff everywhere to try to help you find a solution to your issue. Just about every error code, every problem, at some point has been documented by someone on the internet, and more than likely, your solution is buried in there. You just gotta dig around for it. There's always a good chance that the problem you're looking for will turn up in a Google search. This is why most IT technicians like to go to it, and this is why I personally like to go to it whenever I experience an issue. By no means should you call it quits or result to doing the dreaded reformat of Windows before you even attempt to Google search. Which leads me to tip number 5. Unplug it and then plug it back in. Alright guys, insert your memes in the comments down below, whatever. This honestly should be the first thing that you do if you experience any sort of issue on the PC. Why didn't I put it first on the list? I need to emphasize a point here. This specific fixes a vast majority of common PC problems. It is one of the easiest things that you can do, and there's almost no excuse for not trying it. I mean, unless of course you've got the messiest desk on the planet and you can't reach your outlet. Come on, that's not an excuse. Just do it. What have you got to lose? It's not uncommon to run into users that never turn off their PC. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but there are definitely a swath of PC users who take almost no care to micromanage the systems and programs that they have opened at one time. It can start to pile up and cause a lot of problems with the PC because it simply can't navigate around some of these extra programs or some of these barriers that start to pop up when you start opening and closing things. Some of the more common issues you see as a result of this tend to be freezing. Sometimes it's slow load times. It could be unresponsive input from your keyboard or your mouse. There are a number of things that could possibly happen as a result of things piling up on your system. Usually this is stuff that gets loaded on the system RAM. However, in some cases, this isn't always because of that. In some cases, it can be because of bad code that was loaded into the system upon first use. Sometimes this code ends up lingering around and creates some kind of a barrier for the processor to try to create its execution of an instruction. This is something that's not your fault. However, it's the result of bad programming. Something that I think more people need to keep in mind with programming, especially when it comes to games or programs in general, is that programming is pretty difficult. One wrong error, one wrong decimal point could mess everything up. So please, show some love to your programmers, guys. Since the computer isn't necessarily smart enough to autonomously navigate around these sorts of issues that it runs into, a lot of the times it requires the user to have to jump in and resolve the issue for it. And unfortunately, in some cases, there might not be something for the user to use to actually solve the issue. Now this is where the meme comes in. You could very simply just turn the power off on the system and then turn it back on again. Trust me, there's merit to that because it does do what I was telling you here. It does actually reset the system and allow certain barriers from for the CPU and the instructions it needs to carry out to be lifted so that it can do its job properly. However, in some instances, because the PC does have power running through it and the power supply, because it has a power switch on the back, it's still passively running power through it. There are certain functions on some motherboards, for example, fast boot. This feature will keep certain instructions and programs loaded into RAM so that it takes less time for the system to load into Windows upon initial startup. This is why I suggest that you unplug the system or even shut off the power supply. I still recommend you pull the plug out of the wall. This way, your system gets a full, fresh reset upon startup. Because of these certain features, of course, if you don't follow through with turning the power off or disconnecting it from the wall, some of these programs that are still lingering in the system RAM could end up causing these conflicts to persist. So at the very least, guys, be sure to unplug the system from the wall, plug it back in. That way you can move on and then go to the other possible solutions to your issue. It's the easiest thing that you can do. There's no harm in it. And those are my 5 tips to basic troubleshooting, guys. I hope you found the video helpful, and if you did, please be sure to like, share, and comment down below. Dislike if it wasn't helpful, of course. I value your opinion, and I always try to look towards improving the videos. Also, in the description down below, I have links to my various social media pages, along with the Hobbyist PCs community Discord link. There's an invite right down below. I'd love to have you. I also stream twice a week on Twitch if you want an opportunity to talk to me live. It's one of my favorite places to do it. Great community, great place to interact live with people, and I would just love to have a chance to talk to you and get to know you. Also in the description down below is a link to the Hobbyist PCs merch page. There are coffee mugs and t-shirts available for purchase with various Hobbyist PC logos on it. If you want to rock something with the logo, there was nothing I would love to see more than to see that myself. Post pictures. I want to see you guys. And of course, if you found this video helpful, you'd like to stay up to date with the channel, please be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications, and you will get notified anytime we update to the channel. I upload every Monday. I appreciate all your support, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and have a pleasant day, y'all.